Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host this evening, Matt High. That is the Dynasty Trophy coming into screen with Joe Capozzi. And in the center, we have Chris Felice. Gentlemen, we have another fun episode today. We are going to talk about some Dynasty trades, but one of us came up with a really cool idea. So, Joe, why don't you just take it? This is your baby. Let's go.
All right, guys. So I browsed the webs. We're in off season, but that doesn't mean that fantasy football is stopping. There's tons of trades going on. I took some of these trades. I used a website called Keep Trade Cut, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It is a popular website to find values in trades. All the trade values are determined by the public, so it's kind of almost like a public funded site with trade values. So I put some of these trades to Chris and Matt here, and I asked them what side of the trade do they think has more value, and their answers sometimes are the same. Sometimes they were on different sides of the fence. Sometimes they're both right. Sometimes they were both wrong. So we're going to see who has a better idea of what the public thinks is the best side of a trade. So without any further ado, I present to you Find the Value, featuring Matt and Chris. All these trades, for the record, they are all super flex leagues, so 2 quarterback leagues, 0.5 PPR, and there's no tight end premium in any of these leagues. Gentlemen, any questions before we get started?
I don't have a question. I just have a statement I would like to make, actually, is whatever side I'm on is obviously the right decision. You know, I didn't tell everyone that Anthony Richardson was going to finish as a top 12 quarterback. That'd be crazy. I didn't say all of those crazy players were gonna be bad. I didn't tell you to sit Kenneth Walker the week that he scored 3 touchdowns against the best run defense in football. So just stick with me, okay? Chris, get out of here.
No.
Just because it's the popular opinion does not mean it's right. I mean, look, Christian McCaffrey was the #1 overall draft pick in almost every single league this year, and
whoopsie,
look where that happened. So without further ado, we're going to move on to trade number 1. So trade number 1, we have team 1 that has Drake May, Romeo Doubs, and the pick 2.02 of 2025 versus a 2027 first, a 2026 first, and Derek Carr. Matt picked on this team 1 having more value, and Chris picked team 2. So let's start with you, Matt. Why did you go with team 1 having more value besides your utter hatred for Derek Carr?
I mean, anytime you put Derek Carr on the side, like you got to put like 5 firsts for me to even entertain it.
I mean, there's 2 firsts.
Yeah, there's 2. That's not 5. 2 is not 5. But at the same time, like for me, it's Drake May over Derek Carr. In a super flex league, you need that stability at quarterback. And look what the Patriots are trying to do. They got their new head coach who's going to bring discipline to this team. Romeo Doubs is a pretty solid wide receiver that you can use in, you know, if you have a deep flex league. He was pretty good this past season. Not the best, but I mean, all the Packers had struggles. And then you throw the 202 in a draft that seems like it's going to be really deep for running backs, especially. So if you're telling me you get a solid quarterback, you get a solid wide receiver that could be a bye week replacement or solid flex play week in, week out, and you get a potential running back in a running back loaded class, that's where you don't got to tell me anymore. Derek Carr is the negative. He's the worst part of the other side of the trade. Because, I mean, think about it. Is he going to be a quarterback for the Saints this year? I mean, there's a genuine possibility. He could just suck again. They'd be like, all right, we're just going to pass to someone else. You know, and the firsts are nice, but those are future firsts. I look at more, in Dynasty, I'm a little different than I think you guys are. I look more, what's going to help me now? Because I'm looking to win now, not 4 or 5 years from now.
Oh, we know, Matt, when you traded all of your first round draft picks away.
Hey,
but, okay,
I was one crazy Jonathan Taylor week from winning the championship this week. I looked at the stats because I'm crazy. I looked at it. What happened? That's why it's in your
this trophy a little more. All right,
humble brag. Humble brag.
Chris, why did you go with team 2 having more value over team 1?
So my thought process is, when I was like kind of going through these, I also try to think of it in the terms of like, would I do this in a way? And I think I would. For now, let me start off with this. Yeah, Derek Carr is kind of like the whatever part of this. I don't. He's not the reason why I accept this trade. In all honesty, having him in this trade made it very, very, very borderline. I don't know if I would want to bother with this, to be quite honest with you. But the two firsts are actually so they're both two mid firsts. Now, obviously, we don't know the teams they're coming from or whatever, but when you say mid firsts, they're probably middling teams. I'm willing to roll those dice on the gamble that one of those actually turns into an early first down the line, which is very, very possible. Of course, you could also argue that it could turn into late firsts, but I feel as if the team is middling and you are trading Drake May, Romeo Dobbs, and the 202 to that team, those three players do not turn that team into a championship caliber team as of right now, in my opinion. That's not at all what I'm thinking. Therefore, I'm thinking I'm going to get these first. If they stay mid, awesome. Picks 5, 6, 4, sure. But if all of a sudden that team, a couple injuries later, underperforming players later, maybe I got maybe I got picks 3, 2, who knows? Maybe even 1. That's something I'm okay with. And if I'm giving up Drake, May, Romeo Dobbs in the 202 in this year's draft to do that, I'm kind of like in the mindset of like I think the biggest heavy hitter here is Drake May. I don't dislike Drake May, but I think I'd be okay taking this risk.
Okay. Also
All right.
valid points.
What do the people say?
People say Team 1 has more value with the Drake May and the 2.202 of this current draft. I guess the current draft picks just hold higher value. And as you both said, Derek Carr is almost like a throwaway. So it's really 2 firsts for almost the first. Especially if it's a 10-team league or 12-team league, like that 2.02 is almost, I consider almost a first round pick. So this round will go to Matt. Keep Trade Cut had Team 1 valued at 16,047 and Team 2 valued at 11,572.
I'm curious. Do you know how much Drake May alone was? Because I think that was like
I didn't put the individual values.
Gotcha. My guess is that I had a feeling that would be the case because I know the
Yeah.
young quarterbacks are usually like a lot on that end, and I kind of had a feeling that was going to be the case going into it. But
Yeah,
I stuck to with my guns. My gut feeling went, I'm okay with this thought.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay. I think I agree with you, Chris. I'd be okay with both sides. I think look pretty like Drake May with the prospect, or also the further first for down the line. Granted, I don't think
If I could
go
switch
wrong
Derek Carr with something, this would
yeah.
be a slam dunk.
Oh yeah, if Derek Carr was something
Yeah.
else, but
If I could switch Derek Carr with something, I'd
Yeah.
be a lot happier.
For
with
fe-
it.
If,
Like,
if it was Bryce Young, if you swapped out Derek Carr for Bryce
Bryce
Young,
Young,
then
I would
I
take
think
a
it'd be a
second.
lot closer.
yeah.
I think it'd be a lot
I'd take a
closer.
second.
For future games, I'll add in the math here for what they have as these players' ratings.
So you're good.
But moving on, so we have Matt up 1, Chris 0. Trade number 2, we had Team 1 that had Chase Brown, 2025 pick 2.08, and Malik Willis, and Team 2 that had Jonathan Taylor. We had Matt pick Team 2, and Chris pick Team 2. So Matt, why don't you start? Why Team 2? I believe you own Chase Brown in our Dynasty League. Why Team 2 over a second pick, Chase Brown and Malik Willis?
So for me, it's just stability at the running back position. You know, Chase Brown was awesome. If you listen to us in the offseason, I know me and Chris had differing opinions on the Chase Brown, what was it? Zach Moss debacle. You know, it was kind of Zach Moss in the beginning, and then Chase Brown started taking over until he was just the guy. Like, that was it. They even brought in Khalil Herbert just to sit on the bench. I guess to warm up his owl and stuff, whatnot. But, you know, Chase Brown's future, it's a little murky because the Bengals are going to go through some growing pains. The pieces are there. It's just financially, how do they get these pieces to fit? So I don't think they're going to be drafting a running back this year, you know, with him still on his rookie deal. For me, it's just the 208 is a little bit too far. I know I said it's a loaded draft class. We're going to get into all of those rookie breakdowns very, very shortly. But the 208 just isn't enough for me. And Malik Willis, he's another just throwaway. He's basically just the backup for Jordan Love. He's not going to see the field. unless Jordan Love just gets injured every single game. And even then, they're probably going to want to bring someone else in to compete. Jonathan Taylor, I know the Colts are kind of just in disarray, but talent-wise, Jonathan Taylor is a better running back. He's more utilized in this offense, and he has very little competition. And I don't think they're going to give him competition this year.
Okay. Chris, same points. Do you have anything to add or?
Pretty much, yeah, kind of similar to what I had before, but this is like infinitely more kind of like the thought process in my head, right? I said before in the last trade that's something I would do. I just kind of don't like Derek Carr, but in this scenario, I would just do this straight up. Like if I had Chase Brown, the 2025 2.8, and Malik Willis, and I could give that up to get Jonathan Taylor, I would do it. No question.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I think it's the other way that the people think because I know how people think about Chase Brown. I'm gonna put that out there before you make your big reveal.
Well, Matt, you are correct because the other side had 9,480 in value, where Jonathan Taylor was valued at 6,907. I think after the year Chase Brown he's high in the public's opinion, and so they're ranking him high. And this there's a lot of hype around this draft class, as you were saying, and we'll be deep diving into these rookies pretty soon. So, but that 2.08, it's a good class, a lot of value, a lot of talent at multiple positions. So I think between those two, Malik, and as you said, Malik Willis is kind of a throwaway here, but so no points awarded on this trade. But I kind of agree with both of you. I think I'd lean more Jonathan Taylor. So this one was a little surprising. That's why I wanted to throw it in here to see if I could get you guys, and I got you both. So
You did.
moving
But
on.
I would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I
Trade
got one
number
too.
3, we have team 1 with Jaden Daniels, CeeDee Lamb, and Theo Johnson. And team 2 with Jalen Hurts, Drake London, Josh Jacobs, and the pick 108 of this year. Matt, you went with team 2, and Chris, you went with team 1. So Chris, why don't we have you go first this time? Why team 1 over team 2?
Yeah, so when so in this scenario, there's a lot going on. This is a stark difference to those other two trades. So instead, what I'm looking at, I have to look at the
I accidentally
actual.
revealed the
You did. So I can see that I won. Bow down, by
you
the
did
way.
win. So
Um,
as the winner, why don't you explain why you wanted?
yeah,
What was so good about
of
team 1?
course. So I'm gonna actually explain this to the best of my ability and how I think regarding a trade like this. So in this scenario, there's a lot of pieces moving around and a lot of pieces that can actually kind of make or break a dynasty. Legitimately. One side, in my opinion, is more well-rounded, and the other side is a lot more kind of like this plug-in, set for the future. That side was team 1 with Jaden Daniels, CeeDee Lamb. Theo Johnson, whatever. In this scenario here, right? That's not what I'm talking about. It's the Jaden Daniels and CeeDee Lamb portion here. So we look at the other side. Got Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna be honest. I would consider both of them like pretty equal in terms of what I could possibly get. You all know how I feel about my quarterbacks, so that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. So then I have to look at the CeeDee Lamb. All right, well, Drake London definitely doesn't equal CeeDee Lamb. I would argue that Josh Jacobs plus Drake London doesn't equal CeeDee Lamb. So now I have to go with pick 108. Well, when you do the math, we'll say this is a 10 to 12 team league. Okay. We'll say hypothetically. The odds that more than 4 of those round 1 picks actually prove themselves to be round 1 is basically 0. It almost never happens. It can be any combination of the 4. But after going through our league and other leagues that other my buddies have done, I found that like 4 or 5 ever actually really make it to kind of fulfill to that hype. So that 2025 pick right there is a risk. Now, would I be willing to take that risk? Maybe, but I like Jaden Daniels and I like CeeDee Lamb. That stability, that star power, I know what I'm getting. Not only does it set me up for perhaps a win now, but it sets me up for the future. Whereas on team 2, I have Jalen Hurts, which is great. The 2025 pick 108 could do that, but I don't know. Drake London, I'm not sure if he's really, really good yet because he's on the Falcons. That's not his fault. That's really on the Falcons, but to be seen. And Josh Jacobs could be on the way out soon. We don't know. So for that reason, that was why I went team 1.
And Matt, sorry to spoil that you did not take this point, but why were you with Team 2 on this one?
So, looking at this, breaking it down pick by pick here, or player by player, Jaden Daniels is the new hotness. I mean, he just came out and he was amazing. I mean, almost made it to the Super Bowl as a rookie. I think all of us agreed he was a pretty good talent coming into the NFL, but none of us saw this. We saw the legs and the attributes he had. But at the same time, look at what CJ Stroud did his rookie year, and look what happened this past year. So there is a risk with him. Sometimes it doesn't work the same going from rookie year to sophomore year. Sometimes there's a little bit more of a growing pain. Jalen Hurts, you know what you have. It didn't matter. You had Saquon Barkley there this year. They're in the Super Bowl. He was still great for fantasy. I know he burned a lot of people in week 17, but that was injury. You can't really predict that as much. So I know what I'm getting with Jalen Hurts. And if I take a slight downgrade in Dynasty, I just did a top 12 Dynasty quarterback rankings. I'll put the link up here in the corner of the show, and also the description of the show notes. But so check that out as well, where I break these guys down. But then I look at CeeDee Lamb and Drake London. Looking at their statistics this past year, they were pretty similar. They had about the same amount of yards. Target share was pretty much about the same. CeeDee Lamb obviously is going to get more targets just because he's CeeDee Lamb and that offense runs through him. But, they were within 100 receiving yards of each other. The only thing that's different is the red zone target percentage with CeeDee Lamb was a lot lower than with Drake London. And I know there's a lot of question marks on this Falcons offense. Kirk Cousins is probably going to get traded. I don't think they can cut him. But, Michael Penix. But when Michael Penix was throwing the ball the last couple games of the season, I mean, Drake London came alive. So I think that's going to be one of the identities of this offense is get him the ball. We've seen he can do it. And if they're similar this year, why not take the younger guy? Then you get Josh Jacobs, who just was amazing this year on the Packers. And what do the Packers like to do? They like to run the ball. So he's going to be there. There's no one that's going to take reps away from him. And then on top of that, you're giving me the 108. I disagree with keep trade cut here. I think it should be on the other side.
You would disagree, wouldn't you?
Yeah, looking at this, even though Jalen Hurts, I was one of the people he burnt on week 17. I kind of like Team 2 with that. You get that rookie pick, Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. I think there's just that hype right now behind Jaden Daniels because of what he did his rookie year. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb is amazing, and I think he's better than Drake London. But with him compared to both Drake London and Josh Jacobs, I think I'd be with you, Matt, on Team 2, but the public thinks Team. It's close though. It's close for me.
I agree. This is a close trade. This is a very close trade. It truthfully could go other way. I like where my points stand, if I'm being honest with you. I also don't like the fact that I don't know if Josh Jacobs' future in Green, because I think he's like up for contract this year now.
He signed I think it was a 4-year deal. They do have it out, but they're after the season.
I think the odds of them cutting them are basically zero. But that's like my only.
Yeah.
So the aging running back kind of. I mean, it's like year 6 for him, so he's going into year 7, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Not the oldest, but not the youngest either.
All right. So after 3 trades, we're tied at 1-1. There's 10 trades in total. So moving on to trade number 4. We have Team 1 with Kenneth Walker III, Zach Charbonnet, and the pick 2.09 in the 2025 draft. And Team 2, we have Breece Hall, pick 3.06 and 3.01 in the 2025 draft. Matt, you picked Team 1. Chris, you picked Team 2.
Everyone should know I was going to pick Team 1. As soon as you said Zach Charbonnet, everyone's like, yep, okay, Matt's on that side.
So, Matt, why don't you just enlighten us, especially if there's any new listeners or viewers? Why Team 1? Why are you so big on the Seahawks combo over here?
Because this is a little bit more talent, but as well as what is going to take place this year. Looking at the Seahawks, they pass the ball a lot. Then they fire their offensive coordinator. Why? Probably because it's a defensive-minded head coach that didn't want to throw the ball as much, so they said, out of here, I want to run the ball. And who is there as a running back? Ken Walker. And then you got Zach Charbonnet. We've seen this duo. When one of them is out, the other one is amazing. And then you're getting the 209 on top of that. Now, I understand. I already know which way this is going to go. I've looked into the crystal ball. I know which way this is going to go because Breece Hall is on the other side.
He's trying to voodoo his way out of this. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, actually. Now that you said it twice, it's kind of crazy.
But I understand how everyone is very, very high on Breece Hall. Rightfully so, because he's a really good running back. I just have more fears with the Jets offense this next year. I know they just hired a new coach who I really like. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be a really, really good head coach. But he's a defensive-minded head coach, and I know he's going to run the ball. But who's that quarterback? Because we've seen the run. If you have a bad quarterback, the running back typically doesn't do very well. So my questions are for more of the Jets organization and the offense as a whole. I think it's going to look a lot different next year. You know, whether Aaron Rodgers is there or he's not, which I don't know if you guys have any opinions on that. I don't know if you guys think Aaron Rodgers is going to be back or not, but I'm in the mindset that he's not going to be back.
I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. Like, usually I have an opinion. I actually don't know. I really don't. I'm very conflicted. Like, parts of me want to say yes, parts of me want to say no, and I truthfully don't know.
And mainly, I just love Zach Charbonnet. Can we get him into an offense where he's the feature back? Because that dude is going to light the NFL on fire. Please, please.
So Chris, why did you go with team 2 here?
Breece Hall. I just prefer Breece Hall over the Kenneth Walker Charbonnet combo because I know only one of them can be the one. The other one will be this too at the end of the day. As of right now, if, as Matt has suggested, Zach Charbonnet going to it, perhaps I eat my words, but I think the more likely scenario is Walker starts to fade. That's the more likely.
I think we're having some technical difficulties
Yeah.
with Chris's mic. Can't hear you,
Oh.
sir.
Hold on.
We'll
He's-
reboot.
I'll just spark it
Okay.
over what Chris was saying.
How about now?
It's all good. Seahawks running backs. Only one can do good. So
Exactly. Can you guys hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Pretty much what Joe was saying. Breece Hall also good. Okay. Those picks don't mean anything. Breece Hall good. My apologies, guys.
All right, but so to no surprise, Breece Hall side was more value. Not by a ton, but still higher value. So that's going to put Chris up 2-1, Matt. So you got
That's honestly closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more of a landslide with Breece, just with Breece Hall.
A lot of these were pretty close. There's a couple that are pretty one-sided, but most of them were pretty close. So moving on, trade number 5, we have Team 1, Kyler Murray, and 2025 pick 3.03. Team 2, Bryce Young, 2025 pick 2.11, and 2025 pick 2.06. Matt, you picked Team 1, and Chris, you picked Team 1. Chris, why don't you start off? Why Team 1?
Why are we wrong, Chris?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. Just wanted to make sure. I'm going to be honest with you. This was a little close in my mind. Like for the keep trade cut aspect of it, because I don't know how to think about that. But in my head, I do this trade all day, every day. Right? I take Kyler Murray. The picks don't matter to me at this scenario, right? If I'm like looking, in almost every, I feel like facet of maybe if I'm like full rebuilding, maybe I don't do this. But except for that specific scenario, I think I take this trade. I like Kyler Murray over Bryce Young. Even though I saw improvements of Bryce Young, we talked about this, I believe, on a different episode, but I truthfully think that the Cardinals are kind of just one little piece away from figuring it out, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. there. They have Trey McBride, Kyler Murray, Trey Benson, James Conner. The pieces are all there for a fantastic offense. They just have to figure it out. Like they need to find their identity. That's what, once again, reiterating from a past episode, what the problem is. Identity's kind of not there right now. They need to find it and stick to it. So I just like this trade in general. So that's kind of why I went with it.
Matt, anything to add? Do you pretty much agree?
It's the receiving weapons right now for me that made me lean Kyler Murray because he's got Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends in the league, as well as, Marvin Harrison Jr., who is coming off a somewhat disappointing rookie year. But I think part of that, like we've said a couple episodes ago, that's partly on us because we put him so high up on a pedestal and he just couldn't reach it. Which, don't get me wrong, he had a pretty solid rookie year. I mean, 10 touchdowns as a rookie, that's pretty good. That's nothing to scoff at. But Bryce Young, that organization, they need a couple different things. They brought Chuba Hubbard back. What are we ever gonna see the other running back? I don't know.
No.
I mean, probably not.
Who is that?
Ask Warren. He spent a first-round draft pick on him.
Yeah, and
It's great. I was gonna get him too. Like, I feel like I dodged a bullet.
Oh yeah,
I was actually mad that Warren drafted him in front of me because that was my next pick.
I thought I was going to get him.
Thank God for that pick.
See, this is the best thing about Dynasty is you can be so upset in the moment and then realize, whew, I dodged a bullet. Like
2 years
trades
in a
go
row.
crazy.
2 years in a row. I can't remember who it was this year, but Joe, you have come to me. First year it was Juju Smith-Schuster that you really wanted, and I went against I need that depth, and he ended up being nothing. And you did it again this year with some play. I can't remember who it was, but you wanted another player of mine, and they just didn't do anything at all this year. And it's happened every single year, and it's gonna happen again probably. You're gonna be like, "Hey, can I get this guy? I really like him a lot." Tee.
It's like my own little voodoo. Without further ado, you were both wrong.
That's what I figured.
Keep Trade Cut had Team 2 higher than Team 1.
It was Gus Edwards.
It was Gus Edwards.
You wanted Gus Edwards, and he ended up doing absolutely nothing.
That's because you guys bamboozled me. I was so set on J.K. Dobbins.
You're welcome.
I
didn't give him to
you guys convinced me I was so wrong. I'm like, you know what? I accept it. I am wrong.
Welcome.
And then I was not wrong. I was right. But moving on, trade number 6.
I would think you're
my man.
Right, but...
It's his year every year. Kyle Pitts.
It's his year every year.
A 2026 mid-second and a 2027 mid-third for a 2027 mid-first and Pat Fryermuth. We have Matt on Team 2. We have Chris on Team 1. Matt, why don't you go first? Why Team 2? Besides you hate Kyle Pitts.
I mean, you said it, Kyle Pitts. I'm if you have him, you are so frustrated with yourself because every year you saw it the rookie year. It was great. It was like, oh my God, he's the next Gronk. He's the next Travis Kelce, the next Mark Andrews. I don't have to worry about tight end for the next couple of years. Until you did. And now you're still waiting. Like, all right, do I play Kyle Pitts or do I play Will Dissly? Like that was a decision you had to make this year, which sounds crazy if you to ask me that in the beginning of the season. But you did have to ask yourself that at multiple points during the season. If you played Kyle Pitts, you probably made the wrong choice, except for like 4 weeks. So I like the first. I know it's a future first, but if I have Kyle Pitts, I'm willing to give up a second and a third to get a tight end that is actually going to help me. Because it didn't matter really who the quarterback was. Pat Fryermuth was still pretty solid. He wasn't like, this great new thing, but he was still serviceable. And I think he was serviceable more than putting in Kyle Pitts. So that's why I'm on that side.
Okay. And Chris, why are you on Team 1?
We even have to say it? Guys, it's going to be his year. Hello? No, so I'll be honest with you. Out of so far of all trades, I hated this one the most. I'm gonna be real with you. This one was hard to choose because, like, I have a feeling that I'm wrong. Like, and this is the first trade where I'm like, I cannot envision myself doing either of these options. Like, I just don't like it at all, which is weird for me because I feel like a part of me would want to go Team 2, but I don't know, man. Somehow giving up Kyle Pitts in 2026 mid-second and 2027 mid-third feels almost a little weird for Pat Fryermuth and then the 2027 mid-first. I don't know. This just didn't feel okay. I'm probably wrong, but there's really nothing else to it. I really went with like Kyle Pitts, kind of thinking to myself, he's better than Pat Freiermuth in my opinion. Whether or not the Falcons like to believe that or not is up to them, but in my opinion, he's better. That first isn't going to really matter too much down the line. I got the second and third, unless if I'm doing bad. So, like in this scenario, I'm not doing this trade if I'm throwing, obviously, because I get the first. But this trade also doesn't make me win too much more either. So I had to kind of so I don't have too much of a train of thought here. I just went with I feel like I was getting the better quality player on team one here for the now, even though it's kind of crazy to think about considering how horrible he is. To dynasty to like fantasy managers, sorry.
It depends on what the public perception of Kyle Pitts is right now. That's what's going to swing this. Because if you still have hope, if you have hope, okay, all right. So no one has any hope at all for Kyle Pitts based on this. So
I do, guys.
Yeah, the one person has hope. Everyone else is like, get that guy off my roster, please.
Hey, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good with Penix back there. So we'll see. But I guess you can't argue with. I know it's later and it's a couple of years down, but first round picks are still first round picks. So I do like that. And Pat Freiermuth, as Matt was saying, but I could see Chris. I kind of lean team one just because I'm a Pitts believer, but that's going to tie us up 2-2. So moving on to trade number 7, we have Ricky Pearsall and 2025 pick 1.05, and on team 2 we have Nico Collins. Matt, you picked team 2, and Chris, you picked team 2.
I'm gonna be very upset if we're both wrong. I'm just putting it out there. I'm gonna be very, very upset.
I'm also gonna be upset, actually.
You guys want to expand on this, or?
Yes, I do. No, yeah. I'll expand really fast, right? Ricky Pearsall. I like him. I like him a lot. I do. Pick 1.05. Yeah, that's a great pick. You're gonna get a guy. Looking on the other side, Nico Collins. I'm gonna be honest with you. I picked this not only because I would take this trade. I also picked it knowing that this, if this isn't what Keep Trade Cut wants, right? I don't know. Like, I picked it for both. Like, I would do this in a heartbeat, I think, and I would also do this knowing that I feel like Keep Trade Cut would also be on my side.
Matt, is there anything you want to add?
Nico Collins is an excellent wide receiver.
Wow.
I know you came for the expert analysis. God, he's so good. All right, we can move on now.
I was very surprised at this one. So I had to put it in.
People. All right. If you have Ricky Pearsall and the 105, go get this deal. Go do it. Go find the manager that has this and here you go. See, Keep Trade Cut says it's a good deal for you, and then just laugh at him when you're in the finals.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. Ricky Pearsall, although he was I believe he was a first round pick wide receiver.
Yeah,
he was late first, but
very late.
Still first round pick. He did. Nico Collins, in my opinion, is infinitely better. I know he battled a little bit of injury this year, but I think it's the hype with this class and with how close we are to the draft day, or coming up with all the combine coming up.
Yeah, I do. Those early picks do generally inflate in value a lot.
Yeah, as the closer we get, the more rookie stuff coming out, the more value these picks are going to hold, as you could see with this surprising Keep Trade Cut scenario.
Wild. This is wild. That makes me really mad.
So we're still tied at 2-2. Trade number 8, we have Dak Prescott on team 1 and Khalil Shakir on team 1. And on team number 2, we have a 2026 mid-first, the Candleman himself, Dontavian Wicks, and 2025 pick 3.08. Matt, you picked team 1. Chris, you picked team 2. Chris, why don't we have you start? Why team 2? Why the Candleman?
It has nothing to do with the Candleman. I'm gonna say it as bluntly as humanly possible.
Don't tell Richie that.
No, he's gonna be upset. He's gonna watch this episode tomorrow and be like, "Man, why?"
I'm just gonna be as blunt as humanly possible. It is not because of the Candleman. Okay. This was really hard for me to do, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I hate both of the other players. I don't like
That's a
Dak
strong
Prescott's
word.
future. And I'll be honest with you, Khalil Shakir did not do enough for me to consider him a future guy on the Buffalo Bills. I don't think he did. He didn't do enough. He did not do enough for me. I was expecting a lot more from him, and he didn't do it. I know he had a good year, but it felt as if I knew there must have been something going on when they traded for Amari Cooper. I know it's just Amari Cooper, and it's not like the Amari Cooper of the past. However, I did this trade thinking I would honestly probably I would love to exchange Jontavian Wixon the 3.08 to get something else rather than those two guys. But like this is something in the realm of possibility that I would do because I really something about especially Dak Prescott makes me worried. Especially Dak Prescott. Like Khalil Shakir, I'm probably being too hard on, but Dak Prescott, honestly, I give him maybe like what 2 more years and irrelevant. He'll kind of just fade into the facade completely. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know why. Like I know I'm a Giants fan. I'm supposed to hate the Cowboys, but this is just a weird feeling that I'm having. Matt, go ahead and tell me why you love Khalil Shakir.
How dare you besmirch Khalil Shakir?
I will do what I
he
must.
was amazing. I mean,
I'm a Keon Coleman truther.
yeah.
He's just glazing Keon Coleman.
I am.
Way.
No,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm probably being too hard on Khalil Shakir. I probably am, but I wouldn't mind this. I'm probably wrong if I'm like I know I actually am wrong on this scenario, but that's okay.
See, for me, it's the quarterback. I know the Dallas Cowboys are kind of just in disarray as
Doo-doo buns.
they are. Jerry Jones sure doesn't help that, and the offensive coordinator is now the head coach, and haven't really been that great. And Dak Prescott has been. I mean, he dealt with injury this past year. The offense had no run game at all until like later in the year, and then it was kind of on off. But Khalil Shakir is really, really good, and I think he's going to be on the Bills for a while. I don't see them moving on from him. He's a solid force with tied to Josh Allen. Dontavian Wicks, the Candleman, as we call him here on the Heroes of Fantasy Football. Every time that candle turns on, there's somebody over there with a like fully loaded fire hydrant fire truck just blasting it out because he goes on and then he's just off for like a week as he dries out. He's just that's it. Like he doesn't do much. The 308 is okay, yeah, 308 you might get a shot in the dark. Mid first is what I'm looking at here, but I'd rather have Dak Prescott in a super flex league and a solid wide receiver 2-3, depending on how you view him, than a wet candle and
Nice.
the maybe a shot at a good quarterback in the 26th draft. So tell me why I'm wrong.
Oh,
Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah. People are crazy. People be crazy.
Dude, okay, I did this thinking I was gonna be wrong. Like I did this being like, I'm gonna be wrong on this one, but that's okay with me. Like, cause I don't like either of those two players, so I'm okay with that. Like my logic, I felt like in my head was like correct. Wow.
Yeah, I was
So
a little
you-
surprised. I picked some ones that were surprising to me too because I thought it was the other way around as well. So I guess that a lot of people are kind of down on Dak right now, especially with the injury and everything. And I think Khalil Shakir is great, but again, he didn't wow anyone. So I think that's where a lot of people
That's
are coming
crazy.
He had like a
Rather than-
95% catch rate through like the first 10 to 12 games this year. He was awesome. He was the guy. I know you and me, Joe. We were both in on Khalil Shakir over
I
everyone
like.
else.
Hey, I didn't make the trades. These are people that have. These are trades that have happened with people, and I agree with you, Matt. I don't know where the public was thinking on this one.
No,
All right,
I'll
all
be
right,
honest with you.
people,
I know I
listen
got
to
it right. I know I got it right, but I agree. What are you guys
Listen
doing?
to me. Look,
Like, what
look
is
right
wrong?
here. Look right here. Don't be dumb. Don't do this, okay? Dak
All right, well,
Prescott and Khalil
that's gonna give
Shakir.
That's gonna give a point to Chris. Chris, you're up
So-
3-2.
I guess.
Trade number 9. We have Brock Purdy, a 2026 mid first, a 2025 picks 2.07 and 2.08. And on team 2, we have Rashee Rice, Anthony Richardson, and 2025 pick 1.10. On team 1, abandoning Anthony Richardson, we have Matt High, and also Chris.
That's so good.
I feel like I
love
need
it.
to defend this because being
No.
the
You need to
resident
use-
Anthony
you-
Richardson truther here.
You need to defend why you chose team 1. Go ahead. Abandoner.
Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson,
Whoa.
which passer. He's not going to
Are
run.
we recording this?
We
We are. Don't worry.
We are.
Oh,
we are. Don't worry. I'm just going to make sure this part never sees the episode. But still, Anthony Richardson, as much as I still believe in him, I think he has a chance to work out. It's just been a really, really rough start for a rookie quarterback. Heading into year 3 with more questions than answers is not a good time to be in. Rashee Rice, he's the alpha wide receiver on the Chiefs, but he's been gone for a while, coming off of an injury. We typically don't see players come back right away from an injury as significant as his was. So you're talking next year is a iffy part. Like, are you going to play him? Are you going to feel confident that he's going to return to the same form he left with? How's that team going to look? The Chiefs, depending on what happens in the Super Bowl, like, we're going to see a different team next year. Like, there's going to be a lot of changes. Pick 110 is really nice. I like having first round picks because, I don't have any right now. I wish I had more, but hey, that's how it works. Brock Purdy, the mid.
You have
first
like
round
no
pick.
first round picks.
I don't have any
they don't
seconds. I
exist
don't have
in
any
your
thirds.
arsenal.
I barely have fourths and fifths. It's fine. I
For like
made
the
my
next
decision.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
2028
Don't worry.
is your
It's
next
okay.
first round pick.
Oh, I
It's
can't
Matt's
wait for the
year.
draft
No,
because
Kyle
then I get
doesn't
first round
have
picks
those
to burn
picks
again.
yet.
Matt and
That's
Kyle
when you get
Pitts,
that.
2028.
It'll be our year. It'll be our year. All right.
Chris, you have anything to add on to Matt's points? Or
No, not really. It's mostly just I look at all this stuff together and I just kind of went, yeah, there's a lot of equaling values here. And like he was saying, Rashee Rice coming back into the, thick of things, and Anthony Richardson having this sort of Anthony Richardson effect on the game is, I think, the best way I'll put it. Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at here. So yeah, no, and we won, Matt. Look at that.
you guys were both right. That's points to both of you. So that's going to bring us to the last and final trade number 10. Chris is at 4 points. Matt, you're at 3. So either Chris is going to run away with it here, you'll both score a point, and Chris will still win, or you'll be different and tie it up at the final question. So on team number 1, we have Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, and a 2027 mid-second. And on team 2, we have Chris Olave, Isaiah Pacheco, and a 2025 pick 3.06. Matt is on team 2. Chris, you're on team 1. So Matt, you have a chance to tie it up if you are correct on this trade. So Matt,
we
why don't
can
start
do a
with
sudden
you?
death after that if we tie it up.
Why don't we start with you? Why team 2?
I love Chris Olave, and I hope Derek Carr is
do.
not throwing him the ball anymore because I know his questions are the concussions, and part of that is just bad quarterback play. Isaiah Pacheco is a solid running back. He's one of the guys that, yes, dealt with injury this year, has not done too much as of late. So I think Chris is going to win because recency bias, but the 306 is kind of a throw-in. Christian McCaffrey scares the bejesus out of me. He's getting close to that age cliff that we've seen. We saw him last year, show his age at the position. He's going to be, I think, 28 this year, which in running back years is like 50. So I know there's outliers every year. Derrick Henry is his own little outlier. He's an aging running back that just does not show any signs of him slowing down. DeAndre Swift, I don't know if they're going to give him the same utilization this year. He's not really used in the red zone, or it's especially not at the goal line. They're not giving him anything. It's Roshan Johnson. I am a DeAndre Swift manager in Dynasty, and it was a lot of fun. I should have sold him when I had the chance, but I didn't. he's great because he's used as a pass catching running back. Now, I think I know which way it's gonna lean because of the new head coach of the Bears. Is there people are gonna think, oh, he's gonna play the Jahmyr Gibbs role, get utilized in the passing game, and having the second is pretty good. So, Chris, I want to be first to congratulate you.
Dude, this video is crazy. Like, this is nuts. What is wrong with you? This is a fun game we're playing. Do you do this all the time? Were you doing this to decide the gender of your child?
I mean, got it.
God.
So, Chris, why Team 1 here?
This is really close for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Really, really close for me. However, I chose Team 1 for a couple reasons. One, I kind of had to break it down. Okay, the 2027 mid second and the 2025 pick 306 are even in my head. Cancel out. So then I have to look at the other players. Isaiah Pacheco. We'll kind of rank him up with DeAndre Swift or Christian McCaffrey. Pacheco's a little weird to evaluate right now because I mean, listen, I'm the first one to say I love Pacheco. I think he's a great player. I think he's fantastic. However, injury happened. Kareem Hunt also happened. I'm not saying he's going to take his job by any means, right? But it does kind of throw this sort of doubt that will he have that super role again that he had before, right? Will he ever attain that like top 7 status that he had not this past year but the year before? And then we have Chris Olave. I think I've said this before. I don't know if Chris Olave is bad or the Saints are bad or both, but he hasn't lived up to expectations. It's probably not his fault, but I can't ignore the fact that he hasn't lived up to expectations, right? I can't do that.
It's hard to do when you got a quarterback throwing hospital balls, and every time he overthrows you, he yells at you, "Why don't you run faster?"
On the other end, I got Christian McCaffrey, who, yes, has dealt with some injuries, and this has kind of like been like the whole career here of injuries. I blame the Niners on this season of injuries because what were they thinking? Not telling the world about the injuries before the season, like they should have. But I'll kind of be on the side of I think he recovers. I think he'll do. I don't know if he'll ever be the Christian McCaffrey again, but I think whatever form I get from him is going to equal, if not be a bit better than the Olave or Pacheco I get. And DeAndre Swift, as we alluded to, the new coach, I think with a little better management, I think he actually I saw signs from him last season that truthfully I did not think I would ever see again. So I'm willing to give that the benefit of the doubt and take that risk.
All right. And the results are in.
Oh,
Matt takes the final trade, leaving us tied at 4-4. Both tied, both champions at 4-4.
I don't do ties. Sudden death. Meet me at dawn in New Jersey.
If you guys
bring your pistol.
Enjoyed this content and you want to see more of us doing things like this, leave a comment. Let us know if you enjoyed stuff like this. Let us know how you did, if you played along in the trade values, how many you got right out of the 10. If you did better than 4 if you beat both Matt and Chris, let us know. Matt, any further?
Yes. Please put a comment below that who you actually think won, because now we need the people to decide this.
I think we're just gonna have to do another round to decide the
I
true
agree.
winner.
I think
you got one lined up.
I could write. Trades are happening.
Let's do
every
it. Let's
single
do
day,
it,
guys. So
let's do it.
Okay, in that case, you're
also,
ready for part 2. I will win.
If you guys have recently did a trade in your Dynasty League, send it over to us in an email. I'll put it in the show. We'll have these guys vote on it and see what side they think, if you won the trade or if they think you lost it. So
perfect. Yeah. You know what? Put a comment below why I won. All right, we'll make that. Okay. Because I disagree with.
My guy used all the voodoo in the world and still didn't win. That's crazy.
Sometimes it don't win, but keep doing it.
Get us out. I don't want to hear this anymore. Get us out of here. We're done.
All right, everyone. As always, good luck, have fun. We'll talk soon. We got more episodes coming out, so please like, share, and subscribe. And we will catch y'all later. Bye.